everybody, welcome back to my channel. If you're already subscribed to me, if you're new, I'm glad you stopped by to visit with me today. Hopefully you'll enjoy today's video and you'll subscribe and become part of my YouTube channel family. Today I have a video that was kind of spurred on by another video that I did a few weeks ago, maybe been a month ago or so now, I don't even know. I did a video about parenting an adult child, so a child that's like 17, 18 or older. And in that video, I got such good feedback from you guys that you really enjoyed it. And so I put a call out on Instagram, which I'm aplacetonest Becky on Instagram. If you don't follow me there, you should go on over and follow me. But I put a call out on there and I said, do you guys have any other parenting questions or topics that you would like me to talk about? And I got tons of responses to that request of you guys. So I narrowed it down to the top 4 that really spoke to me, that I felt the most, not qualified, but like I had an immediate answer for, that I was like, oh, I know this, I know this. I picked those 4 out first, and that's what I'm going to be answering today. If you guys like this video and you want me to answer the other questions that I received, then definitely give this one a thumbs up. I'm answering 4 parenting questions today, and you guys take this with a grain of salt. These are my opinions, my experiences, how I have raised my girls so far. I have an 11-year-old and a 17-year-old, so these are basically what we have done that has worked best for us. Obviously, what works for us may not work for you, but knowing that all of my decisions as a parent come from being a Christian first. I base all of my parenting decisions and how I've raised the girls on my faith in God, how I think He wants me to raise the girls, how I think He wants me to control and handle things. And so that is where I'm coming from. That is my mindset, my perspective, and kind of my go-to when it comes to raising my girls. But that does not mean that I have all the answers, because I certainly don't. But I do feel confident in a lot of my decisions that I've made, and that confidence comes from knowing that I'm doing what God wants me to do as a parent. So throwing that out there, that is my disclaimer, and that is telling you kind of where the lens that I'm looking through when I'm parenting my kids. It is the lens of biblical teachings that are laid down for me as a Christian person and as a Christian parent. The first question was how to draw a line between being a parent first and a friend second. I've talked about this in other videos, and I know people say you cannot be your kid's friend and their parent. And I've said before in previous videos, I fully and wholeheartedly 100% disagree with that. It is all in which one of those titles you put first. If you put parent first and friend second, then absolutely you can be their friend while you're being their parent if you're parent first. The key to being a parent and a friend is being the parent first. Be their parent first and their friend second. You have to always be willing to make them mad when it comes to making decisions for them they may or may not agree with. The reason that being a friend and a parent can be a problem is if you are not wanting to make them mad. You're not wanting to step on their toes. You're not wanting to have them be mad at you. So you don't make the right decisions for them based on that fear. That's putting friendship first and parenting second. You've got to put the parent part first and let the chips fall where they may. But that does not mean that you can't also be friends with your kids. And I know from personal experience with especially my 17-year-old, you know, she's almost an adult. And I'm not saying we haven't locked horns every now and again, but I was willing to do that. I was willing to make her mad at certain times, because I knew what I was doing was the right thing for her. I wasn't worried about, well, she's gonna be mad at me. She's not gonna wanna talk to me. She's not gonna wanna hang out with me. I didn't let any of those fears affect those decisions that I made for her when I knew and was confident about the decisions that I was telling her. You can't do this, you can't go here, you can't do that. I had to rest in the fact that I knew I was doing the right thing for her, and if she didn't understand it, that was unfortunate. If she was mad at me, that was unfortunate. But I was parent first and friend second. On the same token though, try to remember when you're raising your kids, especially when they get a little bit older and they start having like drama or boy issues or, you know, friend issues, try to remember what it was like to be their age. To them, these are really big, major, significant issues. And even though we know maybe as adults, they're really not that big of a deal, they're really not that life altering, they really don't matter in the grand scheme of things, to them, these are big deals. These are big decisions, these are big events, these are big heartbreaks, or whatever the situation is. But try to remember what it felt like to be their age and put yourself in their shoes when you are, you know, trying to dole out some compassion or some advice. You know, just remember that you were their age once too. You felt all of these things probably too. And so that's how they feel now. And then also taking time. Take the time to get to know them on a personal level. What do they like to do? What are they interested in? Who are their friends? What are their hobbies? And you may think, well, I know these things because I see them every day. I'm with them every day. There's a difference in being around people and actually spending quality time with people and getting to know them and their interests and what they like and kind of what makes them tick. So I think those three things together, being their parent first, friend second, trying to remember how they feel in whatever situation they're in, and then taking the time to get to know them and fostering that relationship and friendship with them. Those three things together I think are really important, and they all tie into how to be a parent first and a friend second. So knowing this and practicing parent first, friend second leads me to the second question that I got, which was, how do you not feel guilty about decisions that we make for our kids that they don't understand? As a parent, they are not going to understand or appreciate a lot of the decisions that you make for them as their parent. That's just kind of the given. They're not going to understand your rules all the time. And they're likely to even get mad at you over those different rules and decisions that you make for them, but that's okay. I've talked about this in other videos too, but most recently in that How to Parent an Adult Child video, rules without relationship equal rebellion. I have said that to myself a million times, and I've said it to you guys a few times because I think it is so, so true. You cannot expect your child, young or old, to respect you or value your thoughts and opinions and rules if you are first not modeling good decisions yourself. That's a big one. You know, it's not the whole do what I say, but not what I do kind of theory. That really doesn't work too well. So that's the first thing. And mistakes will be made. Kids are going to make mistakes. I don't care how close you are to your kids. They're going to make mistakes. They're going to make bad decisions. They're going to do things that disappoint you. But when you have rules without relationship, it is a recipe for rebellion. But if you have that relationship there and you have that respect with your kids, you give them respect and they hopefully give you respect in return, when you have that type of relationship, I think it's a lot easier for the kids to understand when you're telling them something they don't like, and they definitely are not going to like it, but I think they understand and appreciate, even if they don't know it, the fact that you are doing these things for them out of love. You have consistently done things to show them love. You have consistently done these things to take care of them and try to guide them in the right direction. And maybe you have to remind them, as annoying as it is for kids to hear, I'm doing this because I love you. I'm doing this because I know it's the right thing for you. If you have that relationship, that foundation of they understand that you have their best interest at heart, I think it makes it a lot easier to accept these rules and decisions that you're making for them. I also think when you have this relationship and this foundation of trust, they're more likely to come to you with advice questions. They're more likely to come to you when they've made a mistake. But at the end of the day, whether they really understand that or not, whether they really appreciate that or not, if you know you're making the right parenting decision and you know this is the right thing for them, you have to be willing to do that and enforce that and let the chips fall where they may. And if that means they're mad at you for a day or a week or a month or a year, too bad. You know, that's where you really have to be confident and centered and on your decisions that you've made. And for me as a Christian, that's where prayer comes in handy, because obviously I can't do everything on my own, but I know if I'm making a decision for my kids and I'm giving them a rule or a consequence or something, if I know what I'm doing for them and I have faith in myself and I have faith in God that what I'm doing for them is the right thing, you just really have to be like, I've done all I can do. I've done what I'm supposed to do. They can be mad at me all they want. I've done my end of the bargain. I have taken care of them. I have done this for them, whether they understand it or appreciate it at this point in time or not. So the next question was rules that you feel like change the parenting game for you and how to parent a teen and dealing with attitude. So for the rules, I think the one of the best things that I ever did was to be very strict with cell phones. And I've talked about this several times on my channel about how very strict I am with cell phones. And I get people every now and again that are like, well, you're mean, but you know, again, I have very strong reasons and convictions about why I'm so strict with cell phones, and whether other people appreciate it or understand it, I really don't care, because I know this is what's the right thing to do. So what changed the game for us? We got our oldest daughter a cell phone when she was 12 because we were dropping her off and leaving her at church, and I didn't want her to be there without having a cell phone. But she was at homeschool at that point, so it wasn't like she was in public school. And if she was in public school, or if my youngest was in public school, yes, she would have a cell phone for safety reasons, but trust me, it would be a very strictly monitored, stripped down cell phone with the bare minimum just to make phone calls and texts. And then it would come to me as soon as they got home. That would be the situation. But we did give her a cell phone when she was 12 for that purpose. It was only supposed to be when she was not in my presence, which wasn't very often. But it started to become a problem because she was always wanting to text people. She was always wanting to do these different apps and things. And it was becoming something we argued about a lot. Arguing about a piece of plastic, it was the dumbest thing ever. And I finally got to the point where I was like, we're not arguing about this anymore. The rule became, if you are not with me or you don't have permission from me to use it, then I have it. And I don't care, even though she is 17 years old, that is still the rule. And you know what? The argument stopped. So, and she's gotten used to the fact now that that's just kind of the way it is. And her friends know we have a home number, so they are welcome to call the house if they want to. But there is no reason why she needs to have a cell phone when she is here at home. If she wants to talk to people, they can call. So on the house phone. So that's kind of the rule. That was the biggest thing that changed the game for us. I also think that limiting her cell phone extremely was a really good decision for her, because if you guys, I'm sure you guys know that cell phones can be addictive. They can be really bad for people's temperaments. They're bad for your eyes. They have radiation. There's so many toxic things on cell phones through different apps and social media and all that stuff. So it has, I think, prevented a lot of issues that we never have had to have because she didn't have a cell phone. So highly recommend not giving your kids a cell phone. I could go on all day long talking about cell phones, how much I hate them, how I think they are destroying families, how I think they're an addictive habit that so many people can't control. So many things I have to say about that, but I definitely did not want that happening to my kids. That was a big thing for us. Extremely limiting her cell phone, and it was what I should have done from the very beginning, and I just was not on top of it enough. And once I got that under control, that was a huge game changer for us, and it was one of the best things that I ever did. So that was like the main rule that I did with my kids. Another thing that I did was giving them control over their consequences. And this is not something that I really focused on or verbalized until they were a little bit older. Basically what I started doing, it was mostly with my oldest at that point, and I follow through now with my youngest, but if I'm giving them a rule or something they're not supposed to be doing or something they're supposed to be doing and they don't do it, I explain to them, if you don't do this, you are choosing this consequence, you know, whatever it is. And that's up to you. So if you choose to misbehave with this, then this is your consequence. So you just keep that in mind when you're making your decisions. But it gives them control over the situation. You've explained to them ahead of time, you know, if you do this, then this is going to happen. And it has happened with my oldest again. Something that happened, and this was years ago, but I told her ahead of time, if you do this, then this is your consequence. Well, when she did that thing, I remember, and it was so hard for me to go in there and tell her that, you know, I told you ahead of time that if you did such and so, this was your consequence. You chose to do such and so, therefore, you chose this consequence. And I had to go through and follow through and do what I said I was gonna do and take whatever it was away from her. It was going somewhere, I can't remember where it was. She was supposed to be going somewhere and doing something. And I told her, if you do this, then you're not gonna be able to go to this place or wherever it was. So I had to go ahead and like, I was like, you always, when you tell your kids this, you're like, please don't do this, because then I'm gonna have to follow through and like punish you like I said I would. But that's the important thing. If you tell them this, first of all, you're giving them control over their actions and the consequence. So that gives them kind of a little bit of control over that. But also, just as important, you then have to follow through and be like, okay, well, I explained to you that if you did this, this was your consequence, and now I have to do that. And that is so hard because none of us want to punish our kids. But if you flake out at this point, this critical point of this whole like decision consequence scenario, then they're never going to respect you. They're never going to respect anything you say. They're going to know that you're afraid of them. You don't want to punish them, and you're not going to follow through on what you say, and they're only going to take advantage of you from that point on. So that was a really big game changer. And it's not that I wasn't already doing punishments for certain things that they were doing wrong. It's just I never explained to them ahead of time, you know, if you do this or if you don't do this, this is your consequence, and you're choosing this consequence. I never really explained it that way before, but that really did seem to help, especially with my oldest, because she is extremely strong-willed. She is like me. She's stubborn. She's very strong-willed, and she was, I'm not saying was, like I'm still parenting her, but like those years, like early teen, tween years, she was really trying me. I know she was, and it was really, really hard because there was no punishment just about that she acted like she cared about. She was really headstrong about stuff, and so it was really hard to parent her, and I started using that technique on her first, and it really seemed to help. And then after that first time, I remember like things seemed to shift after that. So those are kind of two things that were really big deals, big turning points in our family when we started being a lot more strict with the phone, and then changing how I worded that about the behavior versus the consequence. Okay, and the last question topic is Christian parenting. Generally, parenting in a secular world and instilling Christian values in our children, especially older teens. I could talk about this topic endlessly too, just like the cell phones. I get so ramped up about cell phones because I hate them so much. I mean, I love them, but I hate them. I could talk about this all day long too. I feel like I'm maybe better than some people about this, but definitely not as good as I should be when it comes to making God the center of our home. I mean to, I intend to, I want to, but as a sinful human, as a busy person, I do not do it as much as I should. But I do know that having a foundation in God, in your family, as a person, so as a mom first, as a married couple, as a parent, I think those things are really important. It's super, super important to how you raise your kids and how successfully you raise your kids and how successfully you raise them to have strong Christian values. And it's a constant thing for me every single day to try to make it more and more and more of a focus. So talk about God, learn about Him, pray to Him, and hopefully be part of a church. You know, having your kids in church I think is really important, and I know that some people don't like churches because they feel like they don't feel welcome, or people at church are sinful. Of course they are. They're sinners. Just because it's a church doesn't mean that it's going to be perfect. It's a church of God, but it's run by people, and people are sinful. So if you don't have a church that you feel welcome in, or you don't have a church that you feel like your values match their values, then find a new church. And I actually made a video about that years ago, about how to find your home church. If you don't like any of your local churches, get online and watch somebody else's church. You know, having a strong family foundation with God is super, super important for raising Christian kids, especially in this secular world when there are so many people and things trying to tell us that's not what you should be doing. It is exactly 100% what you should be doing. So whatever that looks like, and it can be a ton of different things: going to church, having family devotions, watching religious, movies, talking about God, being open and sharing your own personal struggles with trying to be a better Christian and mistakes that you've made. And there's so many facets to this. I could sit here all day long and name them off. But there are so many things you can do. But I think it starts with you as a person. The stronger that you are as a Christian person, the better you're going to be as a Christian parent, and the more easy it's going to be for you to translate that into parenting and raising your kids to be the same. And what they see you do will likely be what they do. So if they see you making poor choices and doing sinful things, which of course you're going to because we're not perfect, but if they see that, then that is going to be what they model. But if they see you trying to always improve your relationship with God and do the right thing and spend time in prayer and spend time in the Bible and spend time with your devotional and make it a part of your family priority to do devotional or have prayers or whatever it is, do mission work, things like that. If they see those things and they're used to those things as part of their lifestyle, the more that is going to follow them into their teen and adult years. And that doesn't mean they're not going to make mistakes. That doesn't mean they may or may not fall away. But that foundation will still be there, and hopefully we'll call them back whenever those times of sinfulness happen, which they're going to happen to all of us. That's really important, and you can never start that too soon. Babies you can read devotionals to, and they're not going to understand, but it's just the practice and the habit of making it a priority. Teaching and modeling faith and a Christian lifestyle is a constant effort, and it is exhausting. I'm not gonna lie and tell you it's not. It is exhausting. It's not easy, and it can really challenge who you are as a Christian yourself to always be pouring that into your kids and your family life when parenting is hard enough on its own. There are so many things that we have to do as a parent, and then adding that on top of it is just even that much more intense. But it's worth the effort, it's worth the heartache, it's worth the sacrifice, it's worth the prayers. Start with yourself first. Start with working on yourself, and then how can you turn that outward and how can you pour that into your family? And then the more likely that will help them when they are having their own kids and their own families, that they're more likely to translate what they learned and those values that you instilled in them when they were younger. They will be more likely to pour that into their own families when they have kids of their own and marriages of their own. I hope that was helpful. These are just the 4 questions that I chose to answer. Like I said, I got other ones that I could definitely answer in a part 2 to this. If you like this video, please let me know by giving it a thumbs up and leaving me a comment and letting me know that you liked it. It doesn't even have to be a word. It can just be a thumbs up or a heart or a smiley face. You can definitely leave me a comment and let me know what you thought of the video and any other topics that you may like me to discuss in the future. Leave those for me in the comments, and I will try to remember to link those other parenting videos. I actually have a whole parenting playlist. I don't make parenting videos a whole lot, but I definitely would like to if you guys want to see more of them. So leave those suggestions for me in the comments as well. If you're not already subscribed, please do that before you head out, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.